Hello and good evening everybody, and welcome back to more OCD. Oh, sorry, OCD, not OC-do. That's saying completely different, I presume, if it is a thing. I've got my book. I've got my free therapy dogs. So, 1, 2, 3. Now, before we get into it, you may remember last time I said I was going to fill out those exercises at the back and talk about them, but after looking at it, I decided I'm going to leave that to the end because it is at the end of the book. I don't really want to keep going back and forth because I've only got one bookmark, you know? I've only got one. Well, I've got other bookmarks, but I don't like having more than one bookmark in a book. To me, it's just weird. And it's not something I can deal with. So, that is going to wait. Even though I did spend roughly 20 minutes looking for a pencil and another 10 looking for a pencil sharpener, I've decided to leave them. Yes, I know there are pens, but I decided I want to write this in pencil. Just doesn't feel right to stain a book with pen. But without further ado, shall we get back into it? Revisiting your goals. Are there any theory A's in your goals? Watch out for goals that are actually ways of doing your rituals more quickly, or that are forms of avoidance. You may have a goal like stop having intrusive thoughts, which would be counterproductive. Well, obviously, because it's not that easy. I'm sorry, people. Nose keeps itching. Following working on theory A/B, here are some of the goals Jennifer, Suze, Jeremy and Johnson have set themselves. So Jennifer, who has checking OCD, her short-term goals are to get to class on time and to get out with my flatmates. Two relatively decent goals. Medium-term goals include inviting people over to the flat. And that's going to be a harder one. Quick question, people. Is this flashing for you? Because it feels like there's like a flashing light. It may not come out like this on the screen though. I hope it doesn't. But if it does, I apologise now, and if you could let me know in the comments if it's come out. Actually, you don't need to tell me that way because I'll be editing this. I'll be editing the video and I'll be looking at it, so I'll see then. Actually, that's quite distracting, isn't it? Actually, no, forget it. Let's carry on. Actually, let's not sure what I can do about this really. That's why I do that. That makes me look fat. Actually, it's not too bad, actually. Let's keep it there, shall we? Jennifer's long-term goal is to live alone. Yes, that makes sense in a way, because then she won't have to keep asking her flatmates to, you know, do stuff. Right, on to Suze, who has contamination OCD. Short-term goals are only wash hands after using the toilet. Fair enough. Easier said than done in my opinion. And go on the bus. That should be an easy one because buses are great. You just get to sit there and someone else drives. You can go to places like Brighton, Arundel, Littlehampton. If you wish, you can go to the place and have a drink. You don't have to pay for a car parking ticket either. And a lot of those car parks have those stupid apps now which don't work, and when you go to a car park you think you got the app, and then oh no, turns out they need a different one for it. Good times. Susie's medium-term goal is to cook dinner for a friend. In the long term is to go on a long holiday abroad. To be fair, I have that term. I just need more money. A lot more. Right, on to Jeremy, who had ruminations. Short term, change my daughter's nappy. Or diaper if you're American. I don't know what the word is in other languages, so I can't really say. His second short term goal is to spend time with his daughter by himself. Medium term goal is to babysit for other children. Long-term goal is to have another baby. I think it might be a while before he gets that one. Then if I'm right, he didn't tell anyone either, so... Then again, you've got to be careful telling people about these things because you don't know how they're going to react. You really don't. Because, if you remember, Jeremy had images in his head of him abusing, and good God, what the hell is happening here? You know what, I'm going to turn this screen off, see if this helps. This actually helps. See if that helps with the thing. Actually, I'm not sure it has or not, but you know what? We're going to carry on like we are now. Not sure why really I was choosing to have my videos playing in the background of my videos. It seemed a fun idea at the time. But the colour is changing less now, so it could be a good thing. So let's carry on, shall we? Actually, let's get more comfy before we do anything. If I get more over to this side. See if that helps. Actually, no, it's not. It's not making a flipping bit of difference. I think I might just have to leave it at that for now, and maybe I should go back to that wall there tomorrow, next time I do one. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. Yes, being careful about who you tell about these thoughts, because if you remember, Jeremy had images in his head of him abusing his own baby. Yes, I know, very dark. But as I would say to anyone, I mean, I'm lucky I've never had images in my head of me abusing a kid. I'm quite lucky. But if someone told me they did, I would say be careful who you tell. Because confession is good for soul, but it can also be a bullet in the head for any relationship. I mean, imagine you have a baby. You get the images, the intrusive thoughts get inside your head, and then you tell your partner. I mean, what are they going to say? I mean, I've read this book, so I wouldn't judge, but what about people who haven't read the book? There are some very judgmental people out there. So please, when you talk to people about these things, be careful, okay? Just pick and choose who you tell. Don't just go telling everyone, because it could lead to bad consequences. It's not good to lie, but sometimes being honest can cause just as many problems. Alright, on to Johnson, who had religious OCD. His short-term goals are to go to church and to meet up with friends. Medium-term goal is to go on a church outing for the day. I'm not sure what a church outing is. Do you just go to another church or something? Do you go to church, people? I'm sure someone does who's watching this. If you do, let me know what a church outing would actually be. So let's see if I can get that. Like that. That's better. He has a long-term goal as well. That's to train as a lay preacher. I have no idea what that is. Absolutely no idea what a lay preacher is, I'll be honest with you. Is that like non-denominational or something? Actually, I'll see if... Actually, I'll do what I normally do. I'll put the definition up on the page, well, the screen here, if you can see it. Alright, challenging your OCD. We talked above about the fact that people who suffer from anxiety do so because they think things are more dangerous than they really are. If you think about the potential dangers of any situation, then it is all too easy to see really dangerous possibilities. And having seen these, it can be fiendishly difficult to ignore them. It is really hard to think your way out of anxiety without checking it out in the real world. And in the end, that's what you have to do. So if Theory B is correct, then these situations that have dominated your life are not as dangerous as you thought. Good to know. How to check it out though? In the first instance, it's best to gather information about whether Theory B is correct. For most people suffering from OCD, this is a very new way of thinking and working, but extremely useful when you get going. The best way to get going on it is to test it out. That's what a lot of the behavioural experiments described next are about. Once you feel a lot more confident from this that Theory B might be right, that your problem may be one of being worried about danger rather than being in danger. You'll need to take a deep breath and do some behavioural experiments to test out which is best. That's what this next section is about. Taking the risk. Now you have a good understanding of how the problem works. Hopefully it is clear what you need to do to get rid of OCD. A. Start living your life according to theory B. B. Change your belief that you are responsible for preventing something bad happening. You need to challenge theory A. C. Don't avoid stuff. D. Stop all safety-seeking behaviours. And E. Start finding out how the world really works. I think that's fair. It is likely that at the moment the idea of doing this is still very anxiety-provoking. You might be thinking, but what if something bad does happen? Or bad things do happen? Why would I take the risk? An important step to taking treatment is to acknowledge that a bad thing has already happened. OCD has disrupted or even ruined months, years or decades of your life. Standing up to OCD involves taking the risk that you will feel anxious, taking the risk that something bad might happen. It takes courage to not wash your hands if you have been convinced for a long time that if you don't, you will die. It takes courage to not do your rituals if you have truly believed for a long time that those rituals keep people safe. When you do things differently, you'll find that the OCD has been lying to you and bullying you all along. Now we have a nice little bit about the OCD bully. See? I'll read it to you. The OCD bully. It can be useful to think of OCD as a bully. Think about the way a school bully goes about intimidating their victims. Up slightly, that way you can see the top of my head. The bully approaches you and demands 50p. The scared child hands over the money under the threat of violence. The next day the bully asks for £1, the next week £2. The school child has to resort to taking money from their mother's purse to pay the bully. The threat of violence is too frightening, so they keep paying. One day the school child decides they have had enough of being bullied and stands up to the bully, refusing to hand over their money. Bully's not used to being challenged and turns out to be all mouth and no trousers. That is a very English term, by the way, all mouth and no trousers. What it means is, they're just words. I believe a more common phrase is all bark, no bite. It's like one of those little dogs that just yaps at you. They'll see you go mental and start barking, but the moment you take a step towards them, they start stepping back. My dog Fred used to do that with visitors to the house. He'd be barking and growling. He looked quite intimidating, but as soon as you took one step forward, he'd be stepping back as well. It'd be like one of those guys that says, I'll have you, and he'd be walking away, he'd be walking away from you saying, don't worry mate, you try that again, I'll have you. But he keeps retreating from you. It's like that. Sheepishly, the bully walks away, as rather than having to carry out his threats. The bully schoolchild feels proud that they overcame their fear and enjoys spending their money on what they want and walking away without feeling preoccupied and scared. So OCD is like a bully. As the threat of something bad happening is frightening enough to keep paying the price. What OCD extorts from you grows over time. Once you have started washing your hands 3 times, the OCD can easily bully you into washing them 5 times or 10. Saying up to the bully is frightening at first, but OCD is like most bullies. The threats are just threats, and if you stand up to them, they don't know what to do. Just imagine the satisfaction, relief and pleasure. That is pleasure, as in, the good pleasure. No, like a nice back rub. You go, that's pleasurable. A nice back rub or something. Where was I? Oh yes. All relief and pleasure. Let's do this sentence again, shall we? Because I got distracted. Just imagine the satisfaction, relief and pleasure you'll get from standing up to this problem. Finding out how the world really works. Behavioural experiments. Because Theory A and Theory B have such different implications for now and the future, it is extremely important to find out for yourself which one is true. The exciting thing is that this can be tested in the real world. In cognitive behaviour therapy, we use the term behavioural experiment to describe what we do to test out beliefs about the world. As the phrase suggests, a behavioural experiment is a planned test of a belief involving doing something differently from how you would usually do it, recording the results and using this new information to decide which theory fits best. When you're tackling your problem, behavioural experiments will help you find out that the things that you fear do not happen. It will reveal the importance of your counterproductive safety-seeking behaviours in maintaining your anxiety and your belief that you are responsible for preventing harm. It will help you find out for yourself whether the alternative theory B is more useful, and it will enable you to discover how the world really works. Think about that one, will you? We're making real progress here. So how many experiments do I need to do? The point of a behavioural experiment is to find out in a structured way what happens if you go against the OCD. It's good to try things a couple of times to see if you get the same results, and if your anxiety lessens as we would predict. If it does, then you already have good information that the problem is worry, and you need to incorporate this into your everyday life. Remember, this is about how the world really works, so it means that you can live your life without OCD. There are 3 choices. Standing up to OCD can be hard, very hard. If it was easy, you would have gotten rid of this problem a long time ago. However, now you've got a good understanding of how OCD works and an idea of how to tackle it. Let's think about how to make your fight against the problem as effective as possible. Special Forces Training. How would you train soldiers in the Special Forces? I don't know. I have no answer to that. I've seen TV, so I guess you make them run through tires and climb stuff. And maybe give them a gun which they have to shoot at some point. The book's going to explain this. This is just me surmising. They need to be on top form to deal with extremely challenging situations at a moment's notice. Would you send them to a nice beach and instruct them to lounge about with a cocktail or two? Or would you insist on plenty of practice of dealing with difficult situations? Repeated exercise of what they would need to do. Personally, I'd give them a few days excitement, fun, relaxation. It's good for morale. All work and no play makes James a dull boy, doesn't it? I think so. Assuming you choose the second option for repeated practice and training, why was that? It makes sense to practice so that next time the soldiers are called into action, they are well prepared mentally and physically for what confronts them. That is very true and wise. Dealing with your OCD problem is similar. You need to practice dealing with the difficult situations that catch you out. If you really go for it with your behavioural experiments, the next time an intrusive thought pops into your head and your OCD beliefs and anxiety kick in, you'll be prepared and know what to do. In treatment, we encourage taking the fight to the OCD bully by being anti-obsessional. When you're planning your behavioural experiments to get rid of your problem, keep these 3 choices in mind. There's a little diagram here. You have the obsessional choice, the anti-obsessional choice, and the non-obsessional choice. If you can see, I'm not doing a very good job of showing you this. There you go. I'll leave this on for a few so you can pause and look. Right, on to the next page. Number 1, the obsessional choice. This is the one you do already. When OCD convinces you that you need to do something to stop something bad happening. For Jennifer, this is checking appliances. For Suze, washing her hands. For Johnson, avoiding his Bible study. For Jeremy, saying, I don't want you to die. I'll keep you safe. And I'm back. The non-obsessional choice. This is what Theory B suggests you should be doing to be free of the problem. Not checking, no hand washing, no avoiding, no repeating neutralising phrases. Fair enough. Number 3, the anti-obsessional choice. This is what you need to do to stand up to the problem. In effect, this means doing the opposite of what OCD wants you to do, or by going much further than the non-obsessional choice to see what happens. And there's a little story here which I'll end this video on, because I don't want these to get too long. The Builder's Apprentice. When a young lad started on a building site, the men on the site played a well-known trick on him, asking the boy to hold up a solid wall that they had just built. Of course, the apprentice did what he was told, and he believed that if he let go of the wall, then it would fall down. with serious consequences for the wall and for him. This was such a terrible thing for him to imagine that he stood holding the wall up for hours. In fact, the joke went so well that the rest of the labourers actually left and went home. What could he have done to find out if they were playing a trick on him? The obvious thing to do would have been to let go, to find out what had happened, that what he believed was not true. However, if he just let go and found out that the wall stood, he might still think that the wall was not very stable. The best way he could have tested things and gone home with confidence would have been if he not only let go, but pushed the wall hard. In this way, he would have found out that it was completely solid. This is the equivalent of doing things the anti-obsessional way. I have no idea if building sites actually work like that, though. I'll have to ask my dad, see what he says. He used to work on building sites, so he probably has a few stories to tell about the cruel tricks they played on new labourers. Right. And then we reach the end of tonight. Tomorrow we'll be looking at specific examples of the choices. So I hope you're prepared for that, because it's going to get exciting. Because you have a look. I'll put this book in. Bookmark in. Look at this. Look at this. Look. We are getting closer and closer to the end. We're past halfway mark now. Look at it. Look at it, people. Look at the freaking thing. Look at it. I actually will admit, I feel really good tonight after reading this. The OCD bully, I honestly can say I never ever thought of it like that. It makes perfect sense, really, because I was bullied a bit at school. Thinking about it. Well, in first school, not really. Didn't really get much. Didn't really get anything like that in middle school. I didn't really get anything like that in high school, really, thinking about it. Then again, I was an easy target, so I can't say too much. Not that I'm condoning it, of course, I'm not, but just explaining it, you know. I do feel good. Just gotta focus and look forward and, you know, continue on this journey and not stop. Because stopping is very easy. Really easy. It's like when I said before about my inner child, you know. You can't kill the inner child, you've got to keep it. But you just got to learn to live in harmony with it and not let it control you. Much like a dog in a way. You can't let the dog lead. You can't let your inner child lead you, because then you will be miserable. And then you end up in a situation like I am in now. You can't have that, you know? But anyway, before I rant on too much, because let's face it, previous videos I've recorded, many of them recently, have gone on longer than planned when I plan to have a short talk. So until next time, I'm James. These have been my therapy dogs. 1, 2, and 3. Bye.